What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for August 27, 2021. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend. Last week was the first installment in a while that I actually missed. The first Saturday, I have not done a SmackDown audio review in quite a while, probably the first of the year, if not since like earlier this year. Just because I was in Vegas, SummerSlam was on Saturday this year, I really had no time to do a SmackDown audio review. And this show was fine, but obviously it was all about Rampage last week. Rampage was easily the far better show with the debut of CM Punk and whatnot. We've had a lot of content go up in the last week, though, here on the channel from live reaction videos, one of which doing over 4 million views. The Brock Lesnar video, of course, the return of the Beast Incarnate from SummerSlam. Huge numbers for that one. I appreciate you guys checking that one out and subscribing. If you're a new subscriber, appreciate you. We've had interviews go up. My interview with Samoa Joe, the all-new NXT champion, new Raw Tag Team champion Riddle. That went up yesterday. Great chat. Check that out if you haven't already. Q&A video, #AskGSM from Wednesday. We've had Raw Talk, Talking Smack reviews. Talking Smack review for today is going up tomorrow. I still got to break down the latest episodes of WWE 24 on Night 1 and Night 2 of WrestleMania, for WrestleMania 37, that is. So if you're into that sort of thing, keep an eye out for that probably tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday or whatever. Really, whenever I get around to watching it and reviewing it. But today we're talking SmackDown from last night. And I just got done talking about how Rampage was really the show of Friday night last week. And there was a lot of wrestling last week on Friday night between the Ring of Honor Night 1 of Glory by Honor from ROH. We had the Impact Emergence event. We had Rampage, of course, featuring the debut of CM Punk and the return of his back to wrestling. And then SmackDown, of course, on Friday as well. SmackDown wasn't really all that newsworthy of a show, which is why I didn't talk about it. 2 weeks ago here on the show, we did a double review, myself and Mr. Marceau breaking down SmackDown and Rampage. Now, it was a live stream. We covered both shows. I don't know if I'm going to do that again going forward. Obviously, we're not doing that this week. I thought Rampage was a really meh show this week, like SmackDown was last week. I really enjoyed the Jurassic Express Lucha Brothers match. I thought that was really good. The overall show really didn't do a lot for me whatsoever. If you missed Rampage, you didn't miss much at all. Definitely not as newsworthy as the last 2 weeks that came before it. So we'll see. I might do a double review going forward. I might do just a SmackDown review. I might do separate videos. I might do it in one video. I might go live for it. I really have no idea right now. We're just kind of doing we're kind of doing it week by week, especially considering that I'm posting this video quite late on a Saturday, a lot later than I usually do. So with that being said, well, time will tell as far as what I review here on Saturdays in the future. But as far as SmackDown is concerned from Friday night, I thought it was a very good show. By SmackDown standards, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. We saw the fallout from SummerSlam. We got the return of Naomi, before I forget. I'm kind of going off my written review of the show here from WrestleRant.com if you want to check out my written review of SmackDown from Friday, and that usually goes up soon after the show airs on Fridays or Saturdays or whatever. But yeah, Naomi returned. That was cool. Still no sign of Toni Storm. I have no fucking clue where she is, but overall, we got some progression in the women's division. Nakamura is super over. The debut of Happy Corbin here on the show, and why that was actually one of the better parts of SmackDown this week. More on that later. Finn Balor was back on the blue brand. Great final segment. Some tension within the Mysterios, and some other good stuff. Far from a home run of a show, but I thoroughly enjoyed SmackDown this week, to be quite honest with you. So let's start from the beginning here. Becky Lynch out making her first appearance on SmackDown since... I don't even know since when. I mean, the last time we saw Becky in WWE prior to SummerSlam was part of the Raw roster. So maybe when they were probably invading SmackDown? Probably when they were invading SmackDown as part of Survivor Series. She has not been a part of the SmackDown roster, as a regular member of the roster since right before WrestleMania 35, when she became Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion at WrestleMania. Prior to that point, she was almost primarily exclusively on SmackDown. So it's been a while since we've seen her weekly on SmackDown. That's going to be a great get for the women's division. And they have a lot of talented women in this division. Shotzi and Nox were not on the show. I couldn't give two fucks about Natalya and Tamina, to be honest with you. But there really was no excuse for why we did not see Toni Storm in this segment. So Becky Lynch opened the show, like I said. She was discussing her SmackDown Women's Championship victory from SummerSlam, the fashion in which she won it, and says that she apologizes for absolutely nothing. So if you're online, if you saw the reports, PW Insider reported the other day that Becky Lynch internally is considered a heel, a full-fledged heel. Although if you watch SmackDown on Friday, that's clearly not the case. I'm not saying PW Insider is wrong. That's obviously the direction they're going in, which I still don't know how I feel about that. I still feel like if she wants to turn heel, cool. She does make for a great heel. We saw that 2 or 3 years ago when she went heel at SummerSlam 2018, although it was the wrong time to do it because people were kind of behind her. But the same story as back then. People don't want to see Becky as a heel right now. People are very much behind her. And the only real reason that she got booed on the show was because of what she did to Bianca. And those were like 10% boos. Even after she said she didn't apologize for what she did on Saturday, she still got cheered. You know, I mean, these people are just, I don't know if they're fickle or whatever the fuck, but I don't blame it on the fans. I blame it on WWE for casting her as a heel when she doesn't need to be a heel. I don't give a fuck if she wants to turn heel. Wait 6 months. Wait 3 months or 6 months or whatever. Book her in a way that gets people to turn on her. Don't turn her immediately upon her return. I saw the report from PW Insider. It was inspired by the Roman Reigns heel turn last year. Literally almost exactly a year ago, Roman returned at SummerSlam 2020 and turned heel days later on SmackDown. The biggest difference, though, people wanted to see Roman Reigns turn heel. We had never seen him as a singles heel prior to that point on the main roster. He was in desperate need of a heel turn. Him coming back and being the babyface Roman Reigns, even though he was only gone for a couple of months. I mean, I was going to say he would have been cheered for a little bit, but there were no fans at that point. It still would have gotten old. If he went in and won the Universal Championship the very next week, people would have fucking shat all over it. If he was a babyface. The way he won it as a heel was perfect, and he's been champion ever since. Becky coming back the way that she did. First of all, the heel turn was not firmly established at all. Roman established his heel turn by aligning with a very notable heel manager or advocate or whatever in Paul Heyman. Becky Lynch doesn't have any of that. She's not with Paul Heyman. She didn't really do anything overly heelish at SmackDown or at SummerSlam. She kind of hinted at it. And again, the slow burning aspect is fine. I like that aspect of it. But the fact they would even turn her and give in to her request, hey, listen, I guess it's good they're giving her what she wants to do. I just would have waited a little bit longer. Like, there's really no reason to turn her heel right now. I guess that tells me that Sasha's not going to be back anytime soon. Because Bianca came out, they had a back and forth on the mic. That was really good. That brought out Carmella and Zelina Vega, who are the literal 2 biggest losers on this planet. And I define that solely on the fact they have literally lost every fucking match they've had for the last 2 months now. Carmella probably has not won a match. She's probably not won a match on TV since May. Zelina Vega has literally not won a match in WWE TV since, September of 2019 or 2020 when she beat Mickie James on Raw. And that was, I think, Mickie James' final match in the company. Unless she was was Mickie in the Rumble? I think Mickie was in the Rumble. But beyond that, she never wrestled again before they got rid of her in April. Zelina has not won a single match since she's been back, yet she's wrestled almost every fucking week. She's been in action almost every week on SmackDown and still loses every time. And that's fine. Vega doesn't really do a lot for me in the ring anyway. I've said that before. I think she's better suited as a manager. Carmella's really improved, I think, in the ring since coming back with this character late last year. I actually enjoyed the Sasha Banks feud from earlier this year over the championship between Carmella and Banks. And she showed some great in-ring improvement. And she has been better in the ring. And I don't mind the character. I wasn't a big fan of it. Originally, it felt too much like Eva Marie Light, who's now since back in the company, who's now since returned. But she loses every fucking week. Like, how can we take these women seriously if they always lose? There is something to be said for not doing 50-50 booking, and I am glad they're booking Bianca strong. She obviously should have won here. I'm not saying that Zelina or Carmella should have won, but stop putting the same fucking women in there. I mean, again, why from a storyline standpoint, or even from a realistic standpoint, was Toni Storm not out there? Why wouldn't she want a shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship? That makes no sense. Liv Morgan came out too. Great to see her back after a month. She disappeared right after Money in the Bank. She was gaining momentum going into the pay-per-view. She was clearly over based on the reaction she got at the pay-per-view, the SmackDown before Money in the Bank. So I'm glad she came back here. She got a pretty decent reaction when she came out. She looked very good in this Fatal 4-Way match. It was elimination style. Bianca and Liv Morgan wiped out. I think Bianca may have taken out everyone, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Liv eliminated Carmella, but I'm pretty sure Bianca eliminated everyone. But I thought Liv, even in defeat, looked really good here. And I've never been the biggest Liv Morgan fan, but she's honestly grown on me since she went off on her own from Ruby Riott after they canned Ruby Riott a couple of months ago, which I thought was a dumb decision. But you know what? She's making the most out of it is Liv Morgan. Ruby's probably on her way to AEW, which is awesome. And Liv's been doing great work, and she's been showing in-ring improvement. They've been booking her properly. Like, it's also WWE, too. It's not all Liv. Like, them booking her to go in there and take Bianca to the limit was great. I really enjoyed that. So hopefully she can continue to get over as well. Bianca has the next shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship by virtue of her victory in this four-way. When she'll get her shot is unknown. I would assume at Extreme Rules, but they are doing Roman and Finn Balor next week, so they could very well do that match at some point in the near future and then build to a rematch at the pay-per-view. But who knows? I mean, we've also had Extreme Rules pay-per-views where literally not even half the card was Extreme Rules matches. So I could just see a scenario where they have a regular old singles match, and they probably should, considering their first ever encounter at SummerSlam went all of 26 seconds. So that's probably for the better. We then had Cesaro taking on Chad Gable one-on-one. So they stemmed this from Cesaro getting beaten down by the Alpha Academy a month ago. Why the fuck he would wait a month to get his revenge, I have no idea. Cesaro is another guy like Liv Morgan, like Sami Zayn, who they had no plans for going into SummerSlam, so he wasn't really on SmackDown at all for the last couple of weeks. He might have been on in late July, early August, but we definitely have not seen him lately. He resurfaced here, beat Chad Gable in 2 minutes via DQ following interference from Otis. And that was about it. I mean, people are into Cesaro. I like the Alpha Academy stuff a lot. I talked about that a week or two ago here on the review with RJ, but I think heel Alpha Academy has been great. Cesaro, it's not even a WWE thing. The thing is that they did everything they could with Cesaro in that they gave him the big win at WrestleMania. He wasn't at SummerSlam, but who would you even have him face anyway? This is the problem with the Cesaro thing right now, and I don't really officially completely blame WWE. He beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. He beat him again on SmackDown. He loses to Roman Reigns at Backlash, which he should. He should not have beaten Roman Reigns, the WrestleMania Backlash show. Fails to become champion. Loses to Rollins again another 2 more times at, what was it, the Money in the Bank qualifier. He wasn't even at Money in the Bank, I don't think. And he also lost to him at Hell in a Cell. So he has no momentum right now. He is still over. Like, people still like Cesaro, but he just has no momentum right now. What do you even do with the guy? My idea was that he could be the one to take the Intercontinental Championship off of Apollo Crews. That's a fresh match. We've actually never seen, believe it or not, Cesaro as Intercontinental Champion before. He was U.S. Champion 9 years ago. Again, crazy to think about that he hasn't held a singles title since. That's what I would have done. But they put the belt on Nakamura instead, and that's fine. Nakamura is really over right now. He's got the King gimmick. He's got Rick Boogs. He's got the championship. That's fine. I just don't know what you do with Cesaro. Do you put him in a program with the new Happy Corbin character? It seems like Happy Corbin and Big E are still feuding. So that's a no. Cesaro and Sami Zayn, it's possible. That's an option. Kind of run it back from their NXT days. I don't know what the reason would be for them feuding, but that's an option. I mean, Sami Zayn did win on the show, so I don't hate that idea. SmackDown has a really good mid-card scene, but I feel like we've seen a lot of the feuds before. Obviously, Zayn and Owens got done feuding for months. Cesaro and Owens we've seen before. Cesaro and Rollins we already saw earlier this year. Rollins is kind of opened up. Edge probably isn't going to be around anymore. What do you do with Edge, or what do you do with Rollins? We've already seen Cesaro and Rollins a bunch. You got to move on from that, so you can't really revisit that right now. I honestly don't know what you do with Cesaro. Maybe Cesaro and Zayn, but even then I feel like we've seen that enough. Not lately, but I don't know. We'll see. Happy Corbin making his debut on this show here on SmackDown. Honestly, so I, like a lot of other people, when I heard the whole Happy Corbin trademark from WWE a couple of months ago, and this was at the very beginning of when they turned Baron Corbin into a poor guy and he was begging people for money and all this other shit, which was, as other people have said, one of the best things going in WWE for as long as it lasted. I didn't think they would already pull the plug on it. I thought we would see Corbin doing that character for a little while longer. We just saw it as recently as SummerSlam on the pre-show. He lost to Big E. Big E got his Money in the Bank briefcase back. That was a nice little feud. It didn't last long, but it was like, okay, I get it. Corbin wants the briefcase. Big E got it back, blah, blah, blah. So what do you do with it from here? I wanted to see it last a little bit longer, and I saw Mick Foley said that he missed the broke ass or the bum ass Baron Corbin or whatever, the poor Baron Corbin character. He tweeted it out last night during SmackDown. How much further could you have gone with it? I don't know. My thought was always they're going to turn the guy face and they're going to turn him Happy Corbin. They're going to turn him into Happy Corbin. Somehow he would endear himself to the audience and become a babyface. That's actually not the direction they went in, but where they went instead is interesting. So Corbin we've never seen as a babyface, probably for a reason. I don't know if he would be a good babyface. It'd be something different. But he's actually not turning face. Instead, he hit it big while he was in Vegas, which works out perfectly. And the fact they trademarked Happy Corbin months ago tells me they had an endgame in mind for this storyline a long time ago, because why else would you have trademarked Happy Corbin in May or June? Like, before he even started doing the broke-ass, bum-ass Baron Corbin character. So honestly, we shit on WWE a lot for a lot of stupid stuff, but if that was the case and they had this as the endgame in mind since, May or June, and they always knew they were going to Vegas and that's where they could pay off the story, then that's fantastic. I think that's really cool. So he came out here with like this lotto music and a new video wall. No more End of Days, unfortunately. Hopefully at some point down the road. But he's got new music. It's great music. I think it fits the character perfectly. He looks like a new man. He looks like $1 million out there, dressed to the nines, got a haircut, shaved his fucking head again. He looks awesome. All right? So he's out there talking about how he hit it big in Vegas. He brings out Big E. Offers to buy Big E's Money in the Bank contract, and obviously Big E declined. Corbin offered him like a couple $1,000s before offering him the big hundo, $100,000. Big E said, that's very tempting. I could use the money to buy braces for the kids. I don't know what kids he's talking about because he doesn't have kids. Maybe there's other kids out there that Big E had that we don't know about. Who knows? Different story for a different day. Either way, the answer was no. Turned down the offer. Corbin said, every man's got a price for the $1 million Corbin. I mean, he didn't say that, but that would have been funny. This does reek a lot of the Cameron Grimes character from NXT, but honestly, it's very entertaining. I mean, Grimes was a little different because Grimes invested in the stock market. Corbin just gambled his money away, the $35 he had left, and won it big in Vegas, which is cool. So yeah, I honestly, the Happy Corbin thing, I'm honestly on board with it so far. I thought this was one of the better parts of the show. I like the new presentation of the Corbin character. They're allowing him, shockingly I know, allowing him to, show off some more personality. I think that's really cool. So I thought this segment was really good. More of Big E and Corbin, I don't mind. Big E's a goofy character anyway, so they can play off each other well. I do not by any means want to see Corbin win back the Money in the Bank briefcase. Not at all. That would be dumb. We do not need a repeat of the whole Miz and Otis shit from last year. Big E should remain Mr. Money in the Bank. Can Corbin beat Big E one of these weeks on SmackDown? Yeah, I could see that. The ultimate endgame should obviously be Big E going over, but I am enjoying this whole Happy Corbin gimmick. I think it's very entertaining. King Nakamura and Rick Boogs were back in tag team action this week against, this time, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, the Dirty Dogs. So another impressive showing from Rick Boogs. He's been in the ring quite a bit between the last 2 weeks. He's probably wrestled more. He's probably had more in-ring time on SmackDown than he ever did on NXT TV. And he had at least 2 or 3 matches a few years ago, but we haven't seen him since on NXT TV. But he's been fucking killing it. He's over. People are into Nakamura. They're singing the song. He's Intercontinental Champion. Again, for all the faults this company has right now creatively, they've really been pushing Nakamura strong. With the whole King thing and him being Intercontinental Champion, the whole Rick Boogs shtick. It's cool. So the match was fine. Dolph being beaten by Rick didn't really mean much. They're like, oh, we beat a former 2-time world champion. Who gives a fuck? He hasn't been champion in almost a decade. Dolph's been a loser for years now. I mean, it was cool to see Rick Boogs pick up the win for the second straight week. We heard from Apollo Crews tease the possibility of going back after the Intercontinental Championship. God, I hope not. And it's not that I don't like Crews. It's not that I don't want to see a rematch, because the first match or two they had were good. The problem is that they've beaten Crews like a fucking drum for months now. And from a storyline standpoint, if Crews doesn't have an automatic rematch clause, why would you give him a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship? I mean, he has literally lost every match this guy has had since fucking May. There's no reason to continue the feud. If you really wanted to continue it, then have Crews win the tag team match last week for his team. Have him pin Boogs or whatever. And then do a rematch and have Nakamura win again. But at this current point in time, there is no reason to do a rematch with how much of a loser Apollo Crews is. It is just ridiculous how much this guy has lost since like May or WrestleMania or whatever. And I like the heel Apollo Crews character, but they really have not done that guy any favors for like 3 months now. So this is where I really got nervous. I already talked about the Naomi thing. She's back on SmackDown now. I thought that was really cool. There was something else that happened. Oh, we got promos from Edge and Rollins too, kind of recapping their match from SummerSlam. Edge says that he has his sights set back on the Universal Championship, which makes sense. People are like, oh, it's too soon, him and Roman again. I don't think it would be anytime soon. Maybe they could do the rematch at Crown Jewel. I still think it's going to be Roman and Lesnar on that show. But either way, I assume Edge takes time off, and the next time that we see him is probably at some point down the road. Maybe the Rumble. Maybe he has to win the Rumble again. I don't know. That's where they kick off his next feud. Maybe they continue it. Rollins looked like he was off his fucking rocker, and I thought this promo from Rollins was great. People don't like the whole goofy, weird Rollins that he's been doing now since he came back. But I think he's been knocking it out of the park. And this promo here specifically I thought was really, really great. So that was enjoyable. But anyway, the other part of SmackDown that I wanted to discuss. So Dominic Mysterio was advertised to have a mystery opponent on this show. I, probably like most of you, got very nervous thinking that the mystery opponent was none other than Adam Cole. Now, usually they don't do someone already on the roster if it's a mystery opponent. Why wouldn't you just announce who it is? And I'm thinking, oh, fuck. Like, Adam Cole had to cancel his Twitch stream today. It hasn't been confirmed. I mean, he is a free agent technically, but he very well could have easily re-signed and then gone to SmackDown. I'm thinking, fuck. This is definitely him. It's definitely Adam Cole. Thank God it was not, and it was Sami Zayn instead. Any other instance, I'd be like, oh, Sami Zayn, like, that's not really that big of a surprise. But I was happy. I've never been happier to see Sami Zayn in my life than it was when he came out to be introduced as Dominic's opponent. So Sami's back after a month away. I don't think we've seen Sami on the show since he lost to Finn Balor on the SmackDown after Money in the Bank, if I'm not mistaken. So he was back here. Him and Dominic have a decent match. Sami Zayn wins. Dominic getting pissed at his father for kind of putting him in that position. Kind of walks off and teases tension with him afterward. A Mysterio versus Mysterio feud is interesting. The problem is that I don't see either guy being a good heel. Rey has never been a heel before. I just don't see him being a good heel. Dominic, he's good enough in the ring to justify him still being around. But on his own, him being a fucking, 20, 21-year-old kid, acting like a prick heel, maybe he'd exceed expectations. I just don't see that being very good. I've seen Dominic do interviews and shit off screen, and even the promos that he's done on screen, and I just don't think that it would work. I just can't buy into him being a heel at all. So we'll see what they have in mind. Maybe it's an Eddie and Rey type situation where before Dominic goes heel, they could always get to it if they want. They can have them face off as friendly partners, as father and son, as just a cordial, like, hey, let's do this match. This might be fun. So we'll see. I don't know what they'll do, but it looks like Dominic's going to be the one to go heel, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. We had the main event segment, and by the way, they teased tension with Roman and Paul Heyman throughout the show. Heyman got locked out of the locker room, Roman Reigns' locker room. And the Usos were like, oh, how did you know that Brock was going to be there? And he's like, oh, I didn't, or why wouldn't you say something to Roman, or whatever. They said something, and Heyman's like really fucking nervous that he's going to be beaten the fuck up by his tribal chief at some point here in the show. He and Roman finally come face to face. Before Roman walks out for his entrance, he tells Paul, listen, you're coming out too. Your family, I love you. And it was one of those like non-threats that was actually a threat, where he's like, oh yeah, trust me, your family, right? Like, right? Like, you wouldn't turn on me, would you? Like, I'm going to fucking kill you if you did. So I don't think Heyman's turning face with Lesnar. I think Lesnar should be a babyface on his own. Or I never even said that Brock's a babyface. Like, I just think Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. There's no real indication that he's a face or a heel. He's whatever the fuck they want him to be. Let's put it that way. But either way, I thought that was great. There was no sign of tension in the actual segment. They just kind of addressed Brock and all this other bullshit. And Heyman, Roman was talking about his title run, blah, blah, blah. And out comes Finn fucking Balor. No Brock. People were pissed about that, but listen, there was no reason for Brock to be on the show. Maybe people tuned in thinking that Brock would be on it, but they never actually advertised Brock being on the show. The only thing they advertised was him, the fallout. The fallout from SummerSlam, what will happen next, blah, blah, blah. They never actually said, oh, Brock will be on SmackDown this Saturday, or this Friday, rather, unless I'm mistaken. But anyway, Finn Balor comes out and says that he'll deal with John Cena another time. He's done taking a back seat with his match at SummerSlam being taken away from him by John Cena. When he said that he'll deal with John Cena another time, that got me curious. Like, why would he say that if Cena's not around right now? That got me thinking, could they do a match between the two at the MSG show? Now, Cena is advertised for that show. He could very well just be there to do a dark match. That is very possible. I just think it'd be cool if you had Cena come back and put over Balor, and Balor beats him to earn another title shot. Because they're doing the match next week, they said. Balor and Roman is official for next week, Universal Championship. It would be fucking dumb to not do the match of the pay-per-view. So I'm thinking we get a non-finish or a fuck finish, and they build to a rematch of the pay-per-view. Maybe Cena comes out, who knows? Because there's only 2 weeks, I think, until the MSG show for SmackDown. So they could do some fuck finish next week. Cena comes out, makes the save, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Balor, if you can beat me, you get another title shot. Or winner gets the title shot of the pay-per-view. That's what I would do. But yeah, I thought this was a good segment. The Profits made the save for Balor, kind of thwarting the Usos. I don't think Roman ever took any offense from Balor at all. I think it was all Balor and the Profits attacking the Usos. But I like this a lot. Balor and Roman set for next week. Probably a fuck finish to set up for the pay-per-view. And it looks like we got the groundwork set for the Profits versus the Usos, which is great. They had a great match a few months ago on SmackDown, the Usos' first match back. You can revisit that. The Profits have a lot of wins in their back pocket right now. I think Otis beat Montez Ford last week, so I'm not really sure what the status of that feud is, if they're just moving on from it. But nonetheless, though, I thought this was a really good segment, and we can build to the Profits and the Usos for the tag titles of the pay-per-view, and hopefully Balor versus Roman one-on-one as well. Like I said, guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode of SmackDown. I thought the Edge and Rollins back and forth was great. Very happy to see Naomi finally back on the show for the first time in months. Thank the fucking Lord. It's been a while. Not that I'm, clamoring for a lot of Naomi, but, why wouldn't you use the girl? If she's on the show and she's healthy, then why wouldn't you fucking use her? So she's back on SmackDown now. I don't really think they explain why she's on SmackDown, but hey, fuck the brand split, I guess. I thought the Happy Corbin shit was great. The Mysterios stuff was interesting. Nakamura is really fucking over. Cesaro and Gable felt like filler. We'll see where they go with that. And I thought the stuff they did with the women at the beginning was very good. So very much a thumbs-up edition of SmackDown for this week. If you enjoyed this review, if you enjoyed my video, I appreciate it. Be sure to show some support by liking the video, dropping a comment, sharing the video, and subscribing to the channel for more daily content, guys. More SmackDown audio reviews are available down below in the description box. And like I said earlier, a lot of videos, a lot of reviews coming up here on the channel to come. Tomorrow is my Talking Smack review from this weekend. I'll be putting my reviews of the WWE 24s on WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 from this year at some point soon. I'll be uploading my reviews, my interviews with Ted DiBiase, Jinder Mahal, Drew McIntyre, Jimmy Hart, Doudrop, Damian Priest, and more, Drew McIntyre, from WrestleMania week last week, which was a lot of fun. I got them all on video. Nikki Ash, I didn't get on video. I got that in audio. I just forgot to fucking record like an idiot. But that'll be up at some point. So, yeah, that's about it, guys. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for checking out this video. I appreciate it. Again, to all the new subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing and sticking around. Hopefully we can reach, I never thought I would say this, but 25K at some point in the near future. That would be fucking awesome. We're getting closer by the day. And at some point, the numbers are going to slow down, and that's totally fine. But if we can reach 25K at some point, that would be amazing. A quarter of 1,000 or a quarter of 100,000 would be just amazing. So thanks again, guys. Have a great weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.